Can you explain about the tech to this surgery?
So at the outset, I should say that it is really a blessing that we were all instrumental in using Mr. Puneeth Rajkumar's eye, such a multifaceted personality. That is when we got the idea that we should make sure that maximum number of people should benefit from these eyes. Of course, as with all these corneas, it is not just that cornea or a celebrity's cornea. For us, every cornea is that important. Every patient is that important. But having the opportunity to use these eyes was really an emotional journey for all of us. And we hope that we have done whatever was possible from our side to live up to the legacy that he has left behind. So normally, the cornea is like a glass piece. It is clear. Whenever there is any damage to the cornea, what happens? It can become white. So similar to a window, if it becomes dirty or white, we cannot see on the other side. Earlier, the technology was such that if the cornea has got damaged, we need to remove the entire cornea. For example, if you see, this is a diagram of what we call as the cornea, which is the black portion of the eye, but it's actually just a transparent layer. So earlier what used to happen is, if there's a damage to this area, we used to remove a corneal button. That means just remove the center portion, whatever size is required, and transplant that part. However, now with the increasing technology, with improving technology, we can split that cornea. So if you understand the thickness of the cornea, it is just about 500 microns in the center, which is just half a millimeter. So you can imagine how technically challenging it would be to split it, to cut it in half or 1/3 at a precise depth. But that is what this surgery is. And because it is so technically challenging, it is not possible all the time. We also need to choose the exact patient who will benefit. So rather than change the full cornea, what we do, if you focus on these red portions, if the front portion of the cornea is damaged as marked by the red part, we can remove only that part, leaving behind a small layer of normal cornea and transplant a similar area from the donated eye. The biggest advantage of this is that because we are leaving behind a part of the patient's own cornea, own eye, the body accepts this donated cornea transplant much better. You would have heard of other transplants, something called rejection, where the body does not accept the transplant. Even in cornea, this can happen, but it's much, much rarer. And when we do these kind of lamellar procedures, where we transplant only a layer, that chance of rejection goes down even further. Similarly, if the problem is in the back of the cornea, again marked by the red line, then we can remove only that portion from the back and take a similar thickness layer from a donated eye and transplant it into the cornea. And that would get joined over time, whether from the front or from the back. And these are called lamellar keratoplasties, whether anterior, which means front, or posterior. So by this technique, now you understand that we can use one cornea for 2 patients, hence 2 corneas for 4 patients. And this is the kind of technique that we have used in this case. One more very important thing. At the edge of the cornea, we have a structure called the limbus, and there we have some special cells called stem cells. Now, what is the biggest utility of these stem cells, or the special quality of stem cells, is that they can multiply, they can grow, unlike many other cells of our body. So if we use that area, the cells from that area, we can help them grow in the lab and use it for someone whose cells are not growing. For example, in patients who have very severe chemical injuries. Their cornea, the surface of the cornea gets burnt because of the chemical, and because this limbal area also gets damaged, the normal cells don't grow back. This can make them blind, and conditions like those, the transplants don't work because there are no cells. In this condition, we can grow it in the lab under special conditions. We have a very specialized lab in our Narayan Health City campus. Our other branches there, we have the grow lab facilities there. We can grow the cells there under very special conditions and use those cells at a later stage for such patients for whom eyes have got damaged. So the biggest challenge is definitely the technicality of it. As I said, these are very, very thin layers, 500 microns in the center, a little thicker in the periphery. Even though we operate under the microscope, it is still very, very minute, so that precision is probably the most difficult. Once we have removed the layers, preserving them properly, making sure that they retain their health cells has to be preserved, used fast, used in the appropriate way. So that needs a little more technical prowess. That's what we have done. And once we grow the cells, it is pretty much innumerable how many people may get helped by those cells.